Buffalo Bills, 13 new guys, free agents coming in. You know, this isn't a plan that has worked successfully for a lot of teams in the past where you're bringing in that amount of volume of people. There a downside to this?
Well, no. Well, the downside is you're not going to have the effectiveness from the players that you want. Look, I mean, you have a lot of guys that are middle-of-the-road guys. It's either going to be feast or famine. I talked about this last week where, you know, I don't think anybody fills a role that's just there and you don't notice him. Either they're going to fail miserably or they're going to exceed your wildest expectations. The problem with the Bills last season and moving into this season is there were so many roster holes. You had to do this, right? You know, there's no major name free agent that you can sign to bring in and make an instant fix. The free agency market for wide receivers was terrible. So you go out and you get John Brown, you go out and you get Cole Beasley, guys that can fill spots that you need, and hopefully you address the rest of it through the draft. I'll say this. I like what they did in the aspect of you now can pick the best player on the board in the draft. You're not forced into taking a receiver. You're not forced into taking a tight end. You're not forced into taking a D tackle. So it makes the player that's going to be around much longer than these guys we signed more valuable by making the moves that they did.
And they set themselves up for this last year, didn't they?
Yeah, I think so. But see, I think it's an accidental setup as well because I think there was a little bit of arrogance that went into this coaching staff. They had that very successful first year. They break the playoff drought, and I think they legitimately believed that with the defense they were going to have, they could throw any offense out there they wanted. And you saw that in the receiving core. You saw that in Nate Peterman, and it exploded in literally the first half of football in the first game of the season. So they managed to rebound well. They did at the end of last season. I think I'm optimistic. And you know how not optimistic I normally am.
And you know, Kyle, one of the guy that didn't come attracted a lot of attention too with Antonio Brown.
I couldn't believe that somebody so big in the league was coming to Buffalo. It just has that reputation that old guys come here. Frank Gore comes here. Like old people that are looking
or for guys with something still to prove.
Yeah. And, you know, Buffalo just didn't feel like the right fit for him, and he thought so too. So, you know, I like Brandon Beane's response to that when people were just berating him with questions. He fired back and said, you know, if you don't know this city, then don't talk about this city. Unless you're here, you can't say anything about it.
It's true. You know, like Brown doubled down on those comments, and it's like you see it at the University of Buffalo. I mean, do you find that that you have to recruit against the city?
Well, what UB head coach Nate Oates says is if a guy's worried about the weather, he's recruiting the wrong kid. I mean, in that case, with basketball, it's indoors, and his point is, look, the temperature in the gym is the same in Buffalo as it is in Miami. Football's a little bit different, I get it, and Antonio Brown is from Miami, so I guess I can understand that point a little bit more from him.
And the culture will help. This isn't just about Buffalo, because when Jim Kelly and all the rest of the boys were here getting to Super Bowls, it was a great place to play.
Okay, but you want to talk about culture. The culture in that locker room was horrible. You had the bickering Bills. You had Andre Reed calling in sports talk shows on the way home after games. I think the culture thing is overrated. Listen, give me guys that can play and be successful together. I think that's what you have to come down to. And I do find it funny, right? The state that the Bills are in right now, where Antonio Brown is a guy that isn't old and has something left to prove. What does that guy have left to prove? It's a blessing in disguise that Antonio Brown didn't work out because they were going to make a 30-year-old wide receiver away from the quarterback that made him his entire career the highest paid receiver in football. You should not have done that. It worked out great.
Yeah, did it ever come out what they were offering?
Well, no. I mean, you look at the contract that he signed with the Raiders. I would assume it would have been
not to pay so much as what they were going to trade for him.
So what did the Raiders end up giving? It was like a third and
They were bad picks.
Yeah. Again, even with that, no, I'll pass. No thanks, man.